get my radio voice on because that's what I need today. Okay. All right, we are officially live. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Kansas City Oasis. I'm Nikki Actipis. I will be your MC for today. We are officially 5 days out, 6 days out from Feast on All of the Foods Ever Until You Explode Day, and then about 7 days from Participate in Large Amounts of Capitalism Day. So welcome. I hope you all are getting ready for the holidays. They're coming up upon us very quickly. Today we have a pretty awesome lineup. We have Wyatt, who is going to play us some music here in a moment. We have MK as our community moment. And unfortunately, you are stuck with me for your featured speaker. Kelly Rosner could not be here today. She got back to me and said, I have to work another 12-hour shift. Please leave me alone. Let's try it again some other time. And I said, okay, that's fine, Kelly. So anyways, you're stuck with me, so you're welcome. And if you have never been to Kansas City Oasis before, or if you are a longtime member or somewhere in between, welcome. You may or may not know that we have 5 core values, and those are: reality is known through reason, people are more important than beliefs, human hands solve human problems, meaning comes from making a difference, and be accepting and be accepted. So those are our core values where our philosophy really revolves around, and we try to express that on a weekly basis with our speakers, with our musicians, with our community moments. And so you don't have to hear me blather on anymore. I'm going to introduce Wyatt. So let me scroll down here, get him up. So, okay. Good morning, Wyatt. Thank you for joining us today. We got to chat a little bit earlier. So I'm just going to let you introduce yourself a little bit. And then when you are ready to play us in this morning, that's on you. So I'm gonna shut up, and I'm gonna let you introduce yourself and do what you need to do.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome from, I'm at Casa del Frisco in Olathe, Kansas, which is not far from Kansas City if you're not familiar with the town. And I am a songwriter and do play in a number of situations. I just want to thank everybody for allowing me to come and play some of my music. I'm going to kind of premiere a couple of things that haven't been played publicly before. So there is a little bit of working out material going on. So anyway, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm obviously, you can probably tell I'm at an age where there's not only a second generation, but a third generation happening. And it's definitely affecting my music in that I'm kind of seeing things from an older point of view. And our second generation, of course, is now in their 20s and 30s and seeing what they're doing, but I'm kind of remembering them as when they were first kind of making that transition from a child to an adult, which is always a very interesting time for everybody, I'm sure. And one particular my niece Sam is staying with us now. She's doing a master's program for civil administration. So we've had a chance to kind of talk and do these kind of things. And so I dedicate this song to her because she is my little sister's youngest. And so my little sister's an empty nester now. And kind of loosely based on Sam and some of her friends as well. It's called Ingenue. are my favorite conversation. Though we hardly say a word, but when you smile that way, such the clever turn of phrase. How can one so young be so self-assured? You're like a song on Sunday morning, open window, summer haze. The sound of the street below, jazz is on the radio. Love a Man by Billie Holiday. So take a bow. You know how to turn heads when you walk into a room. Cool and slow. Do you know the world is waiting for you? Ingenue. The way you look out at the ocean, maybe west toward the sun, a graceful bird at play, dancing circles in the waves. You're the hope and joy for everyone. So take a bow. You know how to turn heads when you walk into a room. Cool and slow. Do you know the world is waiting for you? Ingenue. Yeah, the world is waiting for you. Ingenue. Oh, the world is waiting for you. Ingenue. Thank you. Thank you very much. This next song was kind of inspired by a lot of things, but a very close friend of mine who was a video person, and he sadly passed of cancer a couple of years ago. And the last thing that he and his significant other did was go to Burning Man. And they had such a terrific time, and we're talking about things. And so I think that was kind of the nucleus for this song, though there's, you know, any song that's done, there's always bits and fragments and things of other things. But David? Remember the summer we went to the desert, far from city and the whisper of passing cars. Looking at stars. Warm as a watchfire, sending up embers, glowing like fireflies. As kids, we kept in a jar. Looking at stars. An old patchwork blanket pulled close to our shoulders, under the cover of heaven in each other's arms. Now and forever, circling slowly, dancing. Laughing. An old patchwork blanket pulled close to our shoulders, under the cover now and forever, circling slowly, dancing. Remember the summer we went to the desert, far from the city, like a whisper. Looking at stars. Looking at stars. Sorry about that.
Thank you so much for that. I don't know if you saw, but we had a whole bunch of people clapping. I know it's kind of difficult when we're on Zoom to be able to see that and be able to focus on the music that you're playing. But I know I was watching and I saw a lot of folks They were feeling what you were putting out in the world. And I think that's so important.
Guess it's still a little fresh. Still a little.
And but that's okay. That's what art is about, is even if it happened forever ago, it's supposed to bring that back.
Yeah.
Well, what if to go. Well, we appreciate you sharing that with us. I know I do, because I know I have lost friends, and there are certain things that remind me of them. So it was very vulnerable, and appreciate it for you to share that with us.
Thank you. There'll be a recorded version out at some point, and I promise it'll be a little clearer, and who knows.
And you know what? That's okay if it's not, because you are putting out your art with your emotions. And if it needs to be raw, then that's what it needs to be.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. And how about we give you a little bit of a break, to recover a little bit. And we will hear from you again in a little bit, Wyatt. Yeah, that was awesome. I'm looking forward to hearing more in a little bit here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So that was awesome. And to follow up that amazing Kansas City Oasis debut, we are going to soon invite one of our very own members up to do their community moment. So before I invite them up, I need to give my spiel about what a community moment is for those of you who have not been here before or need a refresher. So a community moment is usually presented by a community member that has been around for a little bit here with us at Oasis. It can be about something they learned, a vacation, something interesting they just want to share with us, or maybe a little bit of a tangent. So today we have our very own MK Mustard joining us. And I, like a bad MC, did not get words to say about this human earlier, but I will say that they are my inspiration for when I become an actual adult someday. I hope to be like MK. So MK, I'm gonna turn it over to you to share what you've got going on with us this morning. And I can help unmute you. Hold on. You got it.
Great. Queen Morgan, bonjour. Amy asked me when she was here last fall, please to come in November and visit in the Netherlands where she lives and in France. And I didn't want to come. I love my life. I just have a wonderful life with friends and book group and women's group. And then at some point it hit my brain. Your girl is asking you to do something. Do it. So on November the 1st, Ron brought me up to KCI, put me on a plane, and I flew to Amsterdam. I recognize that sounds exotic. It's sweet for me. It's not exotic. Amy has lived in the Netherlands for, I think, 33 years. She came here for grad school. She married perhaps 3 years later, and she is part of an incredibly wonderful Dutch family. I love her husband, of course, and his 2 older sisters and their families. And now there are families upon families. So coming to the Netherlands for me is coming to family. After 3 days of being here, Amy Jo and I headed out for France. And the reason we were going to France is because she and her spouse recently purchased a vacation home in France at the end of the Loire Valley in a village called La Village du Les Chats, the village of the cat. And so we just had an incredible 12 days together, sleeping late, eating scrambled eggs, which I didn't make. She made for me every day, putting some extra cheese and fruit in the car and heading out into the countryside through many, many French villages. As I think about that experience, what I think about is beauty, because the French are very big on beauty. They want things to be beautiful, and they make them beautiful. So every little village was filled with many flowers. The town hall had flowers around the entrance. Houses would have pots of flowers by their doors. And because it's fall, the primary flowers were mums. And they really, really were beautiful. And they greeted us every place we went. Something that became meaningful to me is every village or town has a war memorial to what they define as the young men who died in the war. And after seeing enough of these, it occurred to me one day, my God, I'm standing here in a place where the town was in danger of being taken over by soldiers. The ground that I'm standing on and walking on could be taken by people with guns and rifles ready to kill them or burn them out or shoot them. And that just became very, very real, because in the US, we have our share of problems, but I've never had to walk out and wonder if an enemy army was going to be greeting me. So one of the things about traveling the back roads of France that maybe I should have known, but I didn't, is what an agricultural country France is. We were traveling by choice on little country roads that were well constructed, but God, so narrow and hilly and twisty. And Amy Jo's a wonderful driver, so that was in our favor, but it was pretty hairy. So our joys together were simple. We never ate out in 12 days in France. We just slept late, ate our scrambles, got in the car, and headed to the countryside. And as soon as we had driven 500 feet, we were on a road in the countryside. We spent our days roaming, and something that I hadn't realized is that, yes, there are the famous castles in the Loire Valley, but there are castles all over the place, at least in our part of France. And so many small towns, little villages we would be in, always had at least one church. And of course, I'm not churchy, but I'm architectural. And I'm also moved by human hands building these incredible buildings in the 15th century. And so that was a part of roaming around in the countryside that meant a lot to me. And at the end of every day, we would return to our little yellow house in the woods. Amy's house there is small. It's a pie-shaped lot. So it opens up into the woods, and the patio, sitting on the patio, one is looking into the woods. And it was just very charming and very laid back and very lovely. One of the amazing things we found in our travels in small villages, we found Aldi, and we felt it was our obligation to research the best bread. And trust me, Aldi has the best bread. And as you may have seen on Facebook, wait a minute, do I do Facebook? There are castles all along the Loire. I had done the castles in the Loire 42 years ago, also with Amy. We had done them by train and bicycle. And that was great. That was wonderful. I mean, my God, here's the kid from Missouri and on the Loire doing the castles. This time we were in cars and it was a lot later. The first time we would ride down, approach a town by train, get off at their train station, rent a bike, and then often we had to pedal miles to get to the castle. So that was hard. I was 25 years younger, but it still was difficult. This time we were in a car. Amy has a handicap sticker. We just drove up in parking lots to the closest place to park, but we still had to walk a great deal. Incredibly beautiful, just incredibly beautiful. You might be thinking at this point, why isn't she saying anything about Paris? And I need to say this carefully because I don't want it to sound like any kind of bragging, or because I don't mean it that way. I'm just very humble about the fact that I've been in Paris a number of times. I've been in Paris a number of times with Amy when our family went in 79 for 6 weeks camping. It's interesting camping in Paris. And we had been in the Loire at that time, and we'd been in Paris at that time and back other times. So of course I love Paris, and if I did anything there, I'd be happy just to ride in the Bateau Mouche at night and along the Seine, observing the city. But this time, what was important to me was to get to the little yellow house in the woods, and that's what Amy wanted too. We would have stopped in Paris at the Monet's Gardens in Giverny because we haven't been there. However, the gardens were closed. It's off season, so that'll have to come another time. When we left the Loire, we came back to the Netherlands, and as I have said before, that equals family time. And so I'd like to take you to last evening here. I'm in Amy's living room. My grandson, Nick, who's been to Oasis, but he lives in Europe, so he's only been there once. And his girlfriend is from Singapore, and she is a delightful young woman. They're both in grad school, and they've been together 7 years. So last evening, Nick and Boya is her name, came over for the evening. And at 10 o'clock, when they were getting ready to leave, it occurred to us, hey, it's 10 o'clock here, but it's only 3 in St. Joe. So we called Ron. And amazingly, this was like a movie set. Ron was out in the garden in his garden clothes, but he did have his phone with him. So we had one of those great conversations where Amy and her husband, Peter, and Nick and his girlfriend, Boya, and I, and Ron, and one other sentient being. Tiger was out in the garden with Ron. So we all had a really wonderful FaceTime conversation. And the part that I think of in almost closing is that the Dutch are a great deal of fun. And my people were Irish, and there was always a lot of music and singing and laughter, lots of laughter in my Irish home growing up and in my children's home. And so the topic of dancing came up last night in our group call, and either Nick or Amy instigated this, I don't remember which, but mother and son are out there in the middle of the living room floor, and they are line dancing, and they are laughing, and we are laughing. And that whole soundtrack of a wonderful family laughing and having fun in their living room took me back to my early adult years when my brother still lived at home, and my brother and my mother would be in the middle of the living room floor dancing around, doing Carmen or whatever they were doing, and the whole family was there laughing together. So I was very touched by the fact that that generational behavior was now carried down to the last generation. Tomorrow, we go to a nearby town, Nordvik, and take flowers to the grave of Maria Montessori. So that I expect that to be a very moving event. And then we go to the new home of one of the nieces who's building a lovely home, and I want to have a look at that before I go home. I'll close with this thought because it's very moving to me. I realize that Amy did this for me. One could say she did it for herself as well. It's very, very humbling. So, au revoir. Merci.
Thank you so much, MK, for sharing that with us. And thank you for just tuning in today from a completely different time zone and everything, because we love and miss you an awful lot, but also I know I'm personally a little jealous because I'm stuck here currently. So I'm just like this much jealous. And I bet you Tiger and Ron will be happy to have you back here shortly. So if you would like to be a community moment, please reach out to Mark Dixon. He is the individual who schedules our community moments. So if you want to, cool, that would be awesome. We would love to hear what you have to say. Maybe you are also currently on a trip. Maybe you just got back from a trip. Maybe you want to come have a conversation with your fellow OASIMs about anything and everything. So if you'd like to be a community moment, reach out to Mark Dixon. He'll get you set up. And on that note, before we go to our breakout rooms, we have a couple of birthdays. So Cheryl's birthday, Mark's lady, was on November 19th. So if you see Cheryl, please say happy birthday. And we have an upcoming birthday next Friday. So on Black Friday, Mark Menden's birthday is also coming up. So if you know those two individuals, you have them on Facebook, you have them on speed dial, give them a call, say happy birthday. I bet you they would be happy to hear from you. Also on that note, if you have any life experiences, any celebrations you would like to share with the community, get a hold of either me, Julie Wisman, Mark, Sarah, Melissa, or anybody who's in OASIS leadership, and they will get your message to the MC for the week, and they'll announce it to the group. So without further ado, I am going to set up breakout rooms. So if you have never been here before, or if you skip them usually, this is the time where I assign you all randomly to breakout rooms, and you can get to chat with whoever you want. Keep it at least PG, or, if you're all adults, maybe PG-13, preferably PG. If you are going to stay on the main channel, please mute yourself, because this will still be broadcasting while you're all off making new friends or getting reacquainted. So we will see you back here in about 10 minutes. Go ahead, enjoy, make a new friend, greet some old friends. All right, welcome back. So I think we're about everybody. Maybe a few people dropped off. That's all right, because we are going to get things moving right along. So I would like to welcome Wyatt back up to play us some more music. And before you get going, Wyatt, I just again want to say thank you. And also, where can folks see you who are local? Where can we see you live nowadays? Or what is your next upcoming big project? What's happening with you?
Yeah, so that's been a topic of discussion with a number of musicians, kind of what we're going to do. A lot of the stuff that I did in the past was cover bands and things like that, and I think we're kind of at a point where we're going to go out and do more original music. Um, we did do a little bit of it in a band I had called the Urbanites, which was reggae, funk, and soul music, and we'd throw a few originals in there. But the landscape has changed a lot for live music now, and one of my best friends in town, by the name of Max Berry, who's, I think, if people are not familiar with the music scene, he's probably one of the top three guitar players in town. He's the music director for Ida Macbeth, who was the queen of rhythm and blues for many years. And this is a session player who can play the whole spectrum of music. I mean, he can melt your face with a metal solo. He's incredible classical guitar player and everything in between. So we've done a number of duo things in the past, and we're kind of talking seriously about maybe doing that again because we just like each other's company, and he's one of the nicest persons in the business that I've ever met. He's just a wonderful person, and I would encourage you, if you ever hear his name out playing, go see him because he's really one of the finest. And that's just not my opinion. I posted a thing about him maybe a year or so ago, and it was amazing. All the guitar players that just piled on about how great this guitarist was, even guitarists that I consider very, very good too. So probably a duet is in the works. We're gonna go in and do some recordings of some of this material I'm playing as well. It's been not only a lot of live venues have been closing up, but also a number of recording studios too. And the number of studios that you can actually go and play an acoustic piano is, you can count on one hand now, which is just pretty amazing for Kansas City, which has a great tradition of jazz piano, Count Basie and Mary Lou Williams and so on and so forth. So, but we have located one that we think is going to be really good to do that. So larger combos, I always get calls and I'll go out and play with various people with the music that they're doing. But hopefully we'll get out a lot more with original music. I think that's kind of where we're at now. We've kind of done our thing with the cover bands and such, and we want to kind of do the music that is closest to us. So, and on that note, maybe I'll do one of these new ones, and I'm going to send this out to. Though I guess I have to be a little cautious about background. Explaining background, I kind of, the last song I started to play and I just saw the person, David, face just appeared to me, and it just kind of got to me. This one is called Radical Freak. It's about, being yourself, individuality. Don't let people kind of put you in a little box. Be yourself, and that's really the best person you can be and will always be. So that's what this is about.
Well, we are here for it, and I will take myself off here and give you the floor. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All the folks are passing on. Kids nearly grown, but still they need all the comfort of a loving home. Status don't as a mouth to feed. They're so quick about what's wrong or right. Won't sit tight, wanna put up a fight. Maybe something that they come by naturally. Maybe just a radical freak. Everybody say, get with the herd. Mom's the word, don't rattle the sheep. But your daddy didn't raise no fool. Your mama's too cool to be little Bo Peep. If you're gonna take the world for a spin, you can't give in when the wolves close in. They'll be angry cause you're different and unique. Just another radical freak. There are people with bitter souls who need control for the power they see. But if your gospel ain't down with love, don't raise a glove to my family or me. There's a special place reserved in hell where effigies burn and the critics can yell. Just a minute and we'll see who lands on their feet. Probably the radical freaks. Yeah, just a radical freak. Just another radical freak.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You were getting the silent clap, which is it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah, it's okay, really.
Well, thank you so much. And we will hear from you one more time to close us out it will be afternoon by the time we get there.
Of course.
So thank you so much. And we will see you again in a few minutes.
Thank you, Nikki.
Thank you. So that leaves you all with me this morning. So if you weren't here earlier at the beginning of everything, I let everybody know that our speaker for the day could not be here. She was working a 12-hour shift. So it gave me the opportunity to quickly put together something about a topic close to my heart. Because if I can get this to present mode, here we go, maybe. So yesterday was the day for the Transgender Day of Remembrance. So if you don't know, this has been a Remembrance Day since 1992, put on by the LGBTQ community. And it really didn't become or get the momentum behind it until the last maybe 5 to 10 years. So maybe you're asking yourselves, what is Transgender Day of Remembrance all about? So I have a lovely definition here, but I'm also going to let the video kind of speak for me on this. So the Transgender Day of Remembrance is an annual observation on November 20th that honors the members of the transgender people whose lives were lost to acts of anti-trans violence. And this is more or less in the United States. There may be countries that have similar versions to this, but we are just today focusing on the United States. So I have a quick video clip here just to give you kind of a heads up. There wasn't anything I could really find from Kansas City this year. I know there were some events going on. So this is from my hometown all the way back in Ohio, and how they celebrated trans lives yesterday. Oh no, Dwight just told me you can't hear it. So the gist is, and I will put this PowerPoint up on our private page later. The gist is Toledo, Ohio yesterday celebrated Trans Day of Remembrance, and they were just talking about how violence has risen this year yet again against folks in the trans community, which that is across the country. And there needs to be more education around what trans mean and trans individuals in general. So if you want to watch this video, this short clip, I will put it up on our private page later. So let's talk about for a second what the word transgender means, because I know growing up, I heard a lot of different things, and even as an adult, I hear different things as somebody who belongs under this inclusive umbrella of trans. So transgender is a broad term that can be used to describe people whose gender identity, expression, and or lived experiences differ from the sex they were assigned at birth. So when we talk about gender, we are talking about performance versus what's in your pants or what your chromosomes look like. So somebody who may be born with a female body may have the brain of somebody who is a male, or maybe somebody who doesn't identify as either. It is often used, trans is often used as a shorthand for transgender. Trans, for a lot of folks, is seen as more inclusive than just transgender. And that just also depends on the individual. Some transgender people identify as neither man nor a woman, or they might be a combination of male and female and might use the terms non-binary, gender non-conforming, or gender expansive to describe how they present themselves and how they live their lives. So, as you all may have heard these arguments before or even had them yourselves, as with any language that attempts to capture the human experience, the usage of terms can sometimes not fit quite right, or maybe not conform to how we feel our language demonstrates them. So it's really difficult to kind of capture how people identify. And I will be 100% candid with you all, arguing with people about the different nuances of, oh, well, that's not technically correct, or what have you, not really going to win you any bonus points in life. So it is important to use respectful terminology and treat trans people as you would treat anybody else. This includes using the name they tell you to call them, their chosen name, and their pronouns. So I know there's some discrepancy between preferred pronouns and pronouns. They're not preferred pronouns. If somebody's telling you they are he, him, or she, her, or they, them, those are not preferred. Those are that person's pronouns. And yeah, there's some nuance there, but saying preferred pronouns is not great. So by doing this, by addressing people by their chosen names instead of their dead names and their pronouns that they're giving you, you're showing them respect. They're able to have their dignity. And it's just, treating people how you'd want to be treated, right? So on that note, using pronouns saves lives. Specifically as somebody who works with younger individuals, who works with teenagers, this is a big issue because maybe they come to school, maybe they come to see me and have one set of pronouns, but they're not out at home, or whatever, what have you. Maybe they're not out with their peers. By giving your pronouns and using the pronouns somebody is telling you, especially a young human who is extremely vulnerable, it could potentially save their lives. Not only protect them from suicide, but also protect them from violence in the workplace or at school. And it's been seen that folks who are 15 to 21 that could use their chosen names at school, homework, and with their friends experience 71% fewer symptoms of severe depression, a 34% decrease in reported thoughts of suicide, and 65% decrease in suicidal attempts compared to their peers that were not able to use their chosen names and their pronouns in those settings. That is super important. So even if you are the only person in a trans youth's life that is using the correct name and the correct pronouns, you could be helping save their lives. Yeah. So in the video I was trying to show you, but I didn't click the sound for you all to hear, they were talking about how this year has been by far the deadliest year in the United States for trans individuals. At least 47 trans individuals, so that's trans or non-binary or gender non-conforming people, have been murdered violently in the United States this year. At least 25 individuals were killed at the beginning of 2019. at least 22 individuals were killed in 2018. And we say at least because this is a very hard statistic to come up with, because there are a lot of trans folks who are not out and do not choose to share that they are trans. There's a lot of underreporting of violence against trans individuals. So these numbers are really underrepresentative of trans individuals and non-binary folks who have been subjected to violence or even a situation that cost them their lives. And so, like I said earlier, and in the video too, again, that you could not hear, this Trans Day of Remembrance has been around since 1999. Maybe some of you remember the film Boys Don't Cry, that was based off a true story of a trans individual being violently murdered because he was dating women, and the town where he was in did not like that. And that is just one story. That is one story that has been sensationalized, and it happens. It happens. Even microaggressions happen on a daily basis. So the way you can lessen those things is by calling people by the right names, calling people by the right pronouns, introducing yourself with your name and your pronouns to make it more acceptable. So people don't have to ask pronouns or assume. So, and then there's this last little bit here. So even in the face of physical danger, hatred, and discrimination, and sometimes ruthlessness endorsed and enforced by those at the highest level of our government, trans Americans live courageously and overcome unjust barriers in all corners of our country. So I did not touch on today about trans medicine or trans individuals trying to get healthcare and all of that, but that is another type of systematic violence that people in the trans community face, along with just societal, emotional and physical and mental abuse and violence trans individuals face. So there are some resources here. Like I said, I will put this on our private page in case you want to check some of these out, see what you can do to help out. Maybe you want to learn more about the Trans Day of Remembrance. In the springtime, there is Trans Day of Resilience, where we celebrate, we just celebrate being alive, and we celebrate the diversity that's in the LGBTQ community in general. So on that note, that is what I have for you all. I know if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them now. I am more than happy if you drop them in my DMs, because I have a full week off of school. And yes, Maureen, I will put them in the private page. Like I said earlier, this is a thing that is close to my heart. This year, I have had a handful of my own students come out, and I've been able to have those conversations with my terrible yet wonderful teenagers. And we're doing our best over in KCK to change the culture around around transness. So that is what I have for you today. If there are no questions now, I will turn it back over to Wyatt. And before I do that, I want to say thank you for joining us all today. Oh, and David is saying that Camp Quest is very trans friendly and is a safe place for kids to explore their identities. So awesome. Good plug, David. So before I do my phase out and over to music, Camp Quest is a 501c3. It is an alternative summer camp for non-religious children. And we have a chapter here that pops up every spring and summer that serves our community. I know there's ones across the country. So if that is something you would like to be involved in, find the Camp Quest website, sign up to volunteer, be a camp counselor, and all that fun stuff. So before I switch over to music, let me give my spiel. So as always, or if you are new here, Kansas City Oasis is a 501c3. That means we are completely donation run and volunteer run. So if you would like to, one, become a volunteer as we transition back to in-person, or you would like this job right here, so you don't have to hear me again on a regular basis, we would love to have more volunteers take up the mantle to be MCs. If you would rather not, and you'd rather donate monetarily, you can go to kcoasis.org, hit that donate button, and thank you, Jeremy and Genevieve. You can hit that donate button and you can donate one time if you want, or you can sign up for a monthly giving. We appreciate anything. It helps out, helps us get our musicians in, helps get speakers that are not me in. I'm not paid at all. And without further ado, I will let Wyatt play us out.
Thank you very much. And I guess I would, to add to what Nikki was saying, with the holidays coming up, definitely go out and support the great artists and musicians and artisans that we have here, for if you're going to buy presents and things like that. Kansas City just has a wonderful creative community, and they've had a really hard time the last year or two. And so if you can think about it and use some of their services or buy some of their wares, I know they will really appreciate it, and you don't have to deal with possibly having something delivered from out of bounds and not getting here for the holidays. So it's a win-win as well. And I had already picked the song that I was going to do, but I guess I can kind of extend this to the transgender community as well. It's called Butterfly. Fly, butterfly, to your place. On a beautiful flower, I know you will find what you see. It was great that you stayed here so long on my shoulder and helped me to find some peace. I was thinking about your journey when you first knew you had wings. Did it take so long to discover that you're such a beautiful thing? So fly, butterfly, to your place. On a beautiful flower, I know you will find what you see. It was great that you stayed here so long on my shoulder and helped me to find some peace. Your wings the color of sunrise, slowly opened on my sleeve. I wish that you could have stayed longer, but I know you've got to be free. Fly, butterfly to your place. What a beautiful flower, I know you will find what you see. It was great that you stayed here so long on my shoulder and help me to find, help me to find, help me to find some peace. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And if we could all come off mute to just give an actual audible clap, that'd be amazing.
Thank you. It's always good to hear.
Thank you, Ron. I know it's difficult sometimes on here to do that. Well, thank you again, Wyatt, for joining us. Hopefully you'll get to join us in person someday when that day comes.
That would be great.
Yes, yeah, and thank you to MK for being our community moment. And thank you to all of you for sticking it out today. Much appreciated. So have a good Thanksgiving. And if you don't celebrate Thanksgiving, have a good Thursday and football game day. And if you don't want football, I don't know, just, I guess, go shopping. So with that, we will see you all next Sunday. And that's it. That's what I've got today. Have a good afternoon, folks.